is money.
It's nothing.
Ballin', ballin'.
Alakwa.
Premium or nothing.
When them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Hey. Forget what they're on them. Yeah. Ayagaya.
Iba. Apa.
Ayagaya.
Come on. Iba.
Ayagaya.
Iba. Apa.
Ayagaya.
Iba.
Ayagaya.
Iba.
Ayagaya.
Apa.
Ayagaya.
Iba.
Ayagaya.
Welcome back to Couch Chronicles.
Hello.
Let's go ahead and get started with a mindfulness practice. So everyone get themselves into their mindfulness position. Back is straight, but not rigid. Your feet are planted on the ground. Let's take a nice deep breath in through our nose and out. Get those last little jitters out and settle in. We're going to do a progressive muscle relaxation. This is where we're going to hold tension in parts of our body, and then we are going to release it just to show what it feels like to experience relief. A lot of us out there hold a lot of tension in our body and don't really notice it. So this is a easy way to release that tension without really putting too much effort. So the commands I'm going to be using to help you will be squeeze, and that's what you're going to do to hold that tension, and release to let go of that tension. We're going to start off with our feet, specifically our toes. So what I would like you to do is squeeze, hold that tension, feel what that feels like, and release. One more time, let's squeeze. Squeeze those toes, feel that tension, and release. Now I'd like you to move your attention to your calf muscles. And the way that I would like you to practice this is to maybe pull your toes towards your face. When I say squeeze, let's do that together now. Hold that tension. Feel that stretch in your calf muscles and release. Once more, point those toes, squeeze, squeeze, and release. Now we're going to move to our large leg muscles. And the way that I want you to engage or squeeze these muscles is either to push your knees together, or if there's another way in which that you engage those large muscles, go ahead and do so. Let's begin now. Squeeze, squeeze, and release. One more time. Squeeze, hold that tension, and release. Now we're going to move our attention to our stomach. And what I would like you guys to do is to take a nice deep breath in and squeeze that stomach. And release. One more time, squeeze. And release. We're going to move to our shoulders. And I'd like you to squeeze by bringing your shoulders up to your ears and holding that tension. Let's begin now. Squeeze. Hold it. And release. One more time. Let's squeeze. Squeeze. And release. Now I want you to bring your attention to your hands in your lap or at your sides. We're going to curl our fingers into a fist when I say squeeze and hold it tight. Let's do that together now. Squeeze. Hold it. Feel it. And release. One more time. Let's squeeze, squeeze, and release. Now we're going to bring our attention to our face. Our face has so many muscles. And the first thing that I'd like you to do is we're going to start by squeezing our mouth together just as tightly as you can. Let's do that together now. And release. Now, I want you to squeeze all your muscles in your face, your jaw, your lips, your eyebrows, your forehead. Let's do that together now. And release. One more time. And release. And our final squeeze, we're going to take our whole entire body, our toes, our calf, our legs, our stomach, our shoulders, our fist, and all our facial muscles. We're going to squeeze them together and release them together. Okay, so position your body in the way that you need to. All right, let's squeeze, squeeze, and release. And as we bring this practice to a close, let's take a deep breath in and release it. Slowly open your eyes.
Had a squeeze and shake. It was squeezing away.
All right. So, who'd like to start?
That was a lot of squeezing. But I did notice that it did help when we got to my shoulders, or even like my calves and my thigh area was a little bit stiff or sore, or some sensation that was there. So that definitely felt good to release that tension. The full body squeeze was also helpful. And a part of me also had this urge to like laugh and smile because I was thinking like, I wonder how I look on camera right now, just looking like I'm constipating or something. But either way, that was just a thought that came to my mind, but it left. But definitely it was good.
Okay, so in the beginning you had said that it was a lot of squeezing, right? So did that show up as a thought throughout the practice of like, oh, we're doing a lot of squeezing, or is that just something that showed up at the end?
No, it came at the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking through and through.
Okay.
Yeah, I was definitely present and going through each body part as you were going through it.
Mm-hmm. And you had said that during the practice there was some urges to smile as you kind of maybe came out of the practice for a second to observe yourself versus maybe participate. And then you were able to release that. And what did that feel like to plug back into the practice at that moment?
You just picked back up. I didn't really, I just went back and it was just like the urge to just smile, and I just kind of continued to what we were doing. Okay. So there was nothing else.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Yeah. Who's next?
That was an experience.
Was it?
I think my mind was very active. I was feeling rushed getting here. So like I kind of still had that feeling of angst, and it was kind of like, oh gosh, like this is a long one. Like kind of wanted to like, what body part is next? Okay. Like kind of wanted to rush through it, and then having to slow myself down over and over again. Yeah. I think I did finally get there once we got to the full body squeeze. I think that was helpful for me to ground. I did also have the thought of like, what does this look like on camera?
Right.
But not that, it didn't really I didn't hold on to it or have too many other thoughts about that. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you said you were feeling rushed, what does that feel like in your body? Could you describe it for me?
Like, it's this sense of not having enough time. Like, it's this sense of urgency. Like, I need to do things quickly and get there fast.
Yeah. Okay. And noticing that your mind wanted to know what the next body part was in order to do what?
Hurry up and get there.
Okay. And but also like when you got there, what would you do?
rush through the activity. So honestly, like do the whatever like muscle tightness and then move on to the next.
I got you. So you were rushed to just get there to do the thing, right? And you noticed that, about yourself. When did you release that kind of like needing to know what the next thing was?
When we finally got to the full, like, okay, like we've gone through the entire body. There's nothing else to anticipate. I kind of knew what was coming next after that.
So you were able to settle once you realized you were at the end of the road?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Cool. How are you feeling right now?
I feel more relaxed, ready to just go with the flow.
Nice. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello. So I had judgments from the very beginning. Why are we doing this? That was my judgment. And how long is it going to take before we go through this entire body? Is she going to go through the ankles? I was like, oh, Lord, are we going to do this? And I had judgments all the way through. However, I was able to engage in the activity. At times, I let it go. And I had two anticipations, like which body muscle, because I was thinking, we're just going to go just directly from the toes all the way to the feet, or are we going to skip some parts? And so we did, and so I was like, okay, we'll be finished sooner than I expected. It was
to the big part.
Yeah. When I got to my shoulders, because I worked out yesterday and the day before, and I noticed I had some issues with my shoulders, so it kind of brought me back to center and say, oh, okay, I do have some issues in my body that I need to deal with. And then after that, I was relaxed. The whole body tightening kind of also centered me, like, okay, and I too had the judgment, like, how do I look on camera with my face doing this? That did go away, but overall it was, I think, beneficial just to help me relax.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm more relaxed.
Okay, so I'm hearing that one of the things, yes, judgment showed up for you, but also just your mind was just really active, just from like the very beginning around what's the function, right? What's going on? A way to maybe, would you say your mind trying to figure out what's next is something that's like soothing or comforting for you?
I don't know, because I was like, did she say close my eyes or not? And so I was everywhere. I don't know. I guess I was just trying to answer questions that I didn't need to really just let it go. I should have just like, let me relax. I'm not in any danger. Just relax. And for some reason, I couldn't do that this morning.
Yeah, like something about like not knowing what was to come just kind of made you a little bit more alert, and you noticed that. And then after you were able to notice that your body, like that physical sensation of, was it tightness? Was it?
Yeah, it was sore.
Yeah, just some soreness that brought you back to your body instead of like thinking about what was next. And then that kind of settled you, right? And then you were able to kind of continue with like following with the directive.
I mean, at that time, I felt, this is beneficial. So therefore, before they're like, why are we doing this? Then I was like, oh, okay. I'm noticing that.
And you're like, okay, seeing this, there's something there. Right. I got you.
Started on the shoulders. Then
then you're like, okay, we could have done that. Yes. Got you. Well, I appreciate everyone, noticing that everyone had a different experience of feeling rushed or feeling wanting to know what was next. I think all of us have done this practice before, either with ourselves or with our own clients. So there is that little bit of history showing up of how long I do it versus how long somebody else's do it versus how long feels comfortable. And I think it's important for our viewers just to kind of, know that mindfulness, when you practice like the same thing over and over again, your mind will do this funny thing where it's going to be like, oh, I already know what to expect, right? I already know what's going to come. And then it will try to get ahead of that instead of taking in what this particular moment is, right? You know the saying, you don't step in the same puddle twice, right?
Yeah.
And mindfulness is one of those same things, right? Even with breathing, I notice something different every time I breathe intentionally and quietly and just with silence versus when I'm just, mucking around and breathing to get from point A to point B. Yeah. So I think it's important that all of you guys notice that your mind wanted to just get ahead of that, and that's kind of is a little comforting for some of us, right? To want to know what's coming next and want to predict when we're going to get comfort, which I think all of us kind of noticed in one way or another.
How was your experience?
With me, I noticed from like the beginning, my stomach had some butterflies, some flurries, definitely up kind of here. I'm wearing a corset, so maybe that's why I was pushed up to like my sternum. But I felt that a little bit, but I settled after doing the calf stretch. I did notice myself going in and out of like, what do I look like with the face kind of scrunching piece, but I kind of like let that go and moved along because it was more of me trying to see what it looked like versus me trying to what the camera was picking up. Like it was like for my own curiosity, if that made sense, but was able to release that. And then noticing that when it got to the end with the full body, because my legs are really long, I was like, okay, how am I going to be able to stretch myself to be able to do that? So I moved my body and noticing the way my mind was tracking that movement. But that was pretty much it. And as you guys were kind of processing, I noticed that my mind was contemplating, was curious about like the experience and not really like trying to figure out if I would change it or do something different, which is something that I know that I would do before. It's like, oh, maybe I would do this or maybe I would do that. But I was able to just sit with that and just go along with each person's processing.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. So people must be wondering, who's on the couch, or should I say the chair? You know, this handsome-looking man right here. All right. So let me do the introduction.
Yes.
Because it's my pleasure to do it. All right, because I'm going to pronounce his full government name out here because it's so beautiful. This is Mr. Antonio Fitzgerald Moody, okay, from Laurel, Mississippi, okay? Antonio served 14 years in the United States military. He grew up in Milwaukee. Was that Wisconsin? Wisconsin, okay. Completed his license in clinical and professional counselor, so this is a male licensed clinician here in 2016 at Capella University. He worked at Washington Adventist as an intern. He worked as an LG where he completed his full hours to become a C at an organization we all met at. We're gonna leave it like that. And he was there for 5 years. He's a licensed dialectical behavior therapist. He's also trauma certified. I certainly, love him, but he also in a great time. He currently owns his own practice for anyone who's looking for a male therapist. Daily living counseling services. And he's been having it for a while. He also takes private insurance and Medicaid for anyone need that as well. But we know him as Antonio, our friend, our confidant, and our partner here. One thing about Antonio, when we all met, him and I are a riot together, actually. We are at the place that we will not name that we met at. We were all forced to be reckoned with. So, Antonio, welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch.
I'm excited and nervous to be here, but I'm
you nervous? Yeah, right. Like, cut it out.
I mean, dang, talk about being invalidating. He's nervous.
I told you I'm not nervous. Okay?
Yes, it's okay to be both He can be both excited.
Give him 2 minutes.
And right. Give it some time to warm up.
I would be nervous the whole time. I said I was nervous at that.
Correct.
Right.
But Antonio's also a jack of all trades. So let's just be clear about that. He also is a realtor and everything else that he does. So
I'm also a supervisor for therapists too.
Yeah, he's a licensed clinical
So
supervisor.
tell us a little bit more about you, Antonio.
That I didn't read.
You know what? It's kind of like when you were saying the mindfulness, I was everywhere. Not in a bad way, but I am everywhere. I don't like to be stagnant. And so that's one of the things I kind of get that from my mother and my grandmother. They and my father were kind of entrepreneurs, so that's like, what can I always be doing? I want to continue to improve myself. I want to continue to move forward. I want to continue to do something. So at any, my friends talk about me a lot because I have a little OCD. However, a lot. But anyway, I change my house around every season.
Yep.
So
and he looks immaculate every time.
I don't like those curtains. I'm going to do this. I'm going to rearrange the front because my mind is like change, continuously change. And so I noticed that as I am approaching 50 quickly.
And does he look like it, y'all?
No.
Skin is
I will
tight.
be 50.
Just,
Yes.
Thank you.
all of that.
Yes.
Fruits
But
and
talk
berries.
about your health routine though.
Gym. I recently went back to one of the things I enjoy, which is karate.
Wow.
So for the last 2 months, I had to start all over because I was doing another type of karate. So now I start all over. But anyway, I'm doing that now, and I noticed I'm actually better physically than I thought.
Okay.
Around with the young
Challenging
kids,
yourself
yeah. When I accidentally kick them in their face, it makes me feel good. But, sorry, not sorry, but anyway, I can still do that. Get my leg above their head. I was like, oh, I'm good. I can still do these things.
Okay, flexibility.
Right, yeah. Also with my diet, I'm from the South, so everything, I like fried everything, even fried grease. So I've learned to change my diet because of some recent medical issues such as high blood pressure and so on and so forth. So I do those things. I'm a Christian, so I fellowship in my church quite often. I'm a leader there. Actually getting ready to move to Baltimore to do some other leadership training and some other things.
Work class traveler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love to travel. Oh,
Yes.
I went to Egypt a couple of years ago. That was my dream trip. I always wanted to go. I made it.
You're somewhere every year.
I went to South Africa last year, which was wonderful. And this year I'm going to Rome. So I'm excited about that. I've been to Puerto Rico already.
Yes.
And I just come back from Mardi Gras a few days ago.
See?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I like to be moved. I like to, kind
I'm
of.
hearing that.
And then talk about your male initiative as it relates to like substance abuse, the work that you've been doing for a while with males and substance abuse.
I like that component of being a therapist. I like the substance abuse. I like that arena.
Yeah.
I like that because people are so honest. And my approach, a lot like Julian, I'm in your face. So therefore, I'm going to tell you, this is what's going on. This is, possibly why you're dealing with the issues you're dealing with. And so I noticed that they receive that better from me. I really,
Direct, clear communication.
Yeah.
Right. Not, at other times think about your feelings may work for some individuals, but for some of those people who just, I don't want to think about that, tell me what I need to do, or, be honest with me. And so I like that component of it. And it's so vast, I can't say, oh, this is how it is. It's like, oh, that's what, that's how you got here.
Yeah.
And many of the times, I'm going to say, really a lot, it has to do with some kind of mental health issue that they've dealt with in the past. Some abuse, some kind of trauma, some kind of invalidation, something like that. And so once you get to that seed of the entire problem, they're like, oh, so you're actually listening to me. You understand me. You're trying to get to know me.
You know what's going on.
Right. You're not looking at what I'm taking. You're looking at, oh, this is probably why you're doing what you're doing at this point. So I really have a strong connection to that kind of therapy. And I didn't think I would because I had a lot of family members who struggle with substance abuse. And I was like, why are they doing this? And then come to find out some of them, as I got older and become a therapist, when I would talk to them, they also had some kind of trauma or some kind of abuse. So it's like, so that's why all these years, you were doing this and we never understood.
Yeah.
So it shows you that substance use is more of a Band-Aid escape, is their own medication versus the problem that people make it out to be.
Well, especially for our people and people of color too, is that that's the only way to kind of heal through the wounds and the trauma of racism, discrimination, and what we kind of encounter.
And it's mirrored, right? Like you said, like it usually is passed down. I saw someone in my family drinking. I saw someone in my family using, drugs and things of that nature. I was introduced to it early, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
We will. We got a nice episode packed for you all with Antonio. Okay. I'm excited to get into it.
So we have the confession. Okay.
Let's get into our confession.
Let's get into it.
My wife wants to add her best friend to our relationship, and I don't know what to do. We recently moved to her home state, and she introduced me to her childhood friends, including her best friend, Dee. I noticed a strong connection between them, though they never dated. Over time, she became secretive with her phone, which raised suspicions. Last night, she asked if I'd be okay with sharing her, specifically with D. When I pressed for details, whether this was just a hookup or just more, she went silent. Feeling hurt and angry, I left driving around before sleeping in my car. This morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and messages. I haven't been home yet. I feel lost. Do I accept this or walk away?
Right. This was a confession.
I don't know.
All right. So,
Where do you guys want to start with this one?
well, what do you think? Should the husband feel emasculated that his wife wants to bring another man into the relationship? What are your thoughts? And let's start with you. What are your thoughts about the whole scenario?
The first thing, the devil is a liar. I can end this easy because I don't want to see another man bouncing up and down on my wife.
So you already are clear
So
about
my
that
mind is
boundary
like,
for yourself.
No, we good.
So
That's-
he
that's
should
not-
he should walk
However,
away.
No.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm just
Okay.
gonna say I would not.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
don't know from their perspective how like they're married. For how long have they married? It didn't say.
Doesn't
this.
say,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so they're
No.
married. So based on how they met,
Mm-hmm.
based on what their like vows were, like hey,
What are they into?
Yeah, like this is how do they meet? What do they say that they're gonna have an open relationship, or if we
It definitely doesn't seem like that was
He
the
doesn't like
conversation
he's
prior
open.
to.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So I
Yeah.
mean, did he know that was something? I mean, well, they probably didn't have the conversation, but the behavior may have been there because they probably met like that. So we don't know.
Okay.
So my point is, depending on what has happened in the past, may contribute to what she wants to do now.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you meet her? How did you meet her? So my personal view, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want nobody sitting there making love to my girl, my wife, whatever the case may be, and then I'm like, is she enjoying that better than me? And then
yeah, that's
as
bringing up some
men,
things.
we still look, oh, he's bigger than me, oh, he's smart. So that's
That
that's
insecurity.
a natural.
So the question though goes back to then like, so you would say no to the proposition, but it doesn't seem like you would advocate for him to just leave his wife, because that's
No.
what he was saying. Do I accept this or walk away? And it's like, you mean like end your marriage?
Right? No,
From a request? I think that's a little
that's
extreme in my opinion.
Perhaps he maybe is feeling like there's not really room to say no, because the way that the scenario seemed like it was set up, it already seems like the
an
wife is
ultimatum.
already having at least like the emotional connection with the friend already.
Oh,
it
because
just
of
kinda-
the
yeah. So
secret
it
phone.
seems like
Yeah.
even bringing the husband there was a setup. Like I'm just kind of easing you into something that I've already decided in my mind that I want to do. So maybe the husband is feeling like you don't have room to say, I'm not interested
Well-
in that. Just kind of cut it off.
Or he may feel. I mean, he may feel that they've already done something. And
That too.
That's
Questioning. I can see that.
But I'm gonna kind of slow it back down a little bit, because to Antonio's point, I wonder if he knew she was already like this in terms of
like open relationship.
like she probably was kind of into that, right? So I'm a little different around the fact that if this was a discussion, or have they ever had a discussion, because he didn't seem like he was close to it until he found out who the person was. Because she was like, would you be open to sharing me? So to me, I wonder if a discussion about just either bringing in a third or even having a polyamorous relationship is something that could be open. Because, these days, the way that I do marriage and family counseling, so I do a lot of couples counseling, is around the fact that some marriages feel like if they're healthy and stable within the marriage, which this couple don't seem to be, is that they technically, if they agree on it, they could bring in a third. I think it seems like for the
I
husband,
think it's probably maybe the person.
Yeah,
it's
no,
the
I'm saying
person
it's
that's
the
more. I
person.
think it seems
Right.
like it's more the person.
It's the D
A past
guy.
boyfriend.
Yeah, but can
Yeah.
I circle back to your question though about if the husband should feel emasculated because the wife like introduced another person, right? So like, I wonder where the thought process comes around his identity being questioned as a man,
Right.
because
That's a good one.
another man is being introduced into the marriage. Can we talk a bit more about if he should feel that way at that request?
Again, because I would like to know what's the background of their relationship, because that way I have more information. But however, I don't know about demasculated, but I would say disrespected more so.
Okay. Can you talk about the difference then? Because I feel like even though we don't have that background context, a lot of men tend to, that I have worked with, that I have interacted with, come to that kind of like, oh, you're emasculating me. That's the term that's used. And I wonder if they're referring to maybe disrespect.
I think so. I think it could. I think there's a misunderstanding, or they try to
Interpretation.
use it. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
What's disrespect to you, Antonio?
In
a relationship?
First of all, that would be disrespectful to ask if somebody else can come in the marriage and share you, because for me, a marriage is between those two people.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't look at. I mean, if I wanted to share you, we just would have just went together, and you could have just did whatever you wanted to do, and I did what I wanted to do. But if I'm married to you, I'm not sharing you. Besides, I mean, not sexually, probably emotionally with our children or family, but definitely not sexually.
So that thing's like more like
Sure,
monogamy is in terms of what you're referring to. So you're like, monogamy is one partner. So you feel like that's disrespectful to introduce an additional partner. That makes sense. Like, right? Like that does seem disrespectful because of what we committed to do together.
Right.
But let's go back to your question. What are some things women say, in your opinion, as a male, to emasculate a man? What are some things that people don't think? I think a lot of time women don't know that they're saying things that could emasculate their partner.
Probably just the tone, because I have a couple, and he always believed that she's putting him down, and sometimes she just asks a question, and I think, and then of course they're from another culture, and in that culture, women are not supposed to ask a man any questions anyway.
Yeah.
So therefore, since they're here in the States, she may ask, why did you do that? He's like, why are you asking me why? And she asked him in a very non-offensive way. It's just the fact that she's asking him a question. And so I think it's how, it may be dependent on how you were raised. I'm from the Deep South.
Yeah.
So we have that belief, a woman is supposed to do this, a man is supposed to do this. Up here, it's more so
liberal?
an equal thing. Hey, she do this, we do this, we work together.
Yeah.
And depending on what ethnic background you're from, too, you have those.
In African culture, that definitely is a big thing. So if you're saying that emasculation can happen if the identity, like the male identity, is culturally or like even like in the relationship seen as like the primary or dominant,
Superior
like
or dominant,
the one that engages most of the power, the decision making, those type of things. So sometimes something simple as inquiring the reasoning behind why someone did something could
like
be
that. Right.
interpreted as being emasculating.
Correct.
That makes a lot of sense, I think. Because I think that I don't think that people talk enough about the cultural indications or the cultural aspects of like things, because I think there's so many like intercultural relationships, even though they're not interracial. Like you've worked with a lot of like people who marry men in African cultures but are from American culture or from the South or something, and it's very different. Because even in Southern culture, right, the gender norms, I think that's what we're referring to and talking about, is different than in African culture. Like in terms of how it's still, I would say they could be siblings, right? Maybe even fraternal twins, if we will, but not identical in what that looks like. And those misconceptions, those underlying patterns or traits, I think, or belief systems can really collide and mess things up.
Yeah. But what are our thoughts in the new age marriage? Because you speaking from a traditionalist standpoint, but what about the idea, how healthy it is to
marriage?
I'm gonna say.
Tell us, what's your definition of it, or what are your thoughts about it?
Having an open marriage, having the free will of not being bound to just depending on one person to fulfill all of your needs, and having to being able to say, you know what, Antonio's my husband, and this is what he's able to do. This is how he's able to stretch himself. But I desire this other part of like emotional connection with someone who can actually, want to hear me out, who want to coddle me, who want to do this. But Antonio may not have the capacity to hold that space for me. So what is our thoughts? Because with the wife seems like, I don't want to fully depend on you to... She might be. So this is all assumption. How about if she's
already
saying?
Seems emotionally involved to me.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think that people's relationships, the way that they operate, is like up to them.
Yeah.
And mostly just thinking about more like, how do you have that conversation with your partner? How are you even...
Yeah.
Is that something that you are initially starting with? And even as we know, things change. You've been married to somebody for a significant amount of time. Like, it has to be some sort of discussion about, this is how I'm feeling. What are we both committed to engaging in? It can't be secret or like I'm plotting, setting it up, and then boom, it happens.
Right. Well, but to Antonio's point is like, well, if I wanted to be outside the marriage to do this, we would have never gotten married. Yeah. But some people don't feel that. Some people don't feel that way.
That Antonio is likely leading with. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably letting people know up front, like, this is how I operate in my relationship.
Yeah. Which would potentially lead to someone not being as willing to broach it with him then, is what I think you're saying about how do you present it. But also going back to what you're saying about new age, I don't necessarily think it's new.
No.
Like, I think like when I look at polyamory, and I'm not the
but I'm
most
thinking it's
practiced.
more openly talk about. That's what I mean.
That's what I was gonna say.
Openly talking about. That's what I mean,
Right.
because it was an underground type of thing that
Yes,
even married couples would not tell you. They literally have a different type of society and places where they
depending
have.
on your culture.
That's what this that I was about to say. It's like yes and no, because I'm not the most practiced Catholic, but they had polyamory all throughout. Like, and you're right in terms of secretiveness, but in terms of like practice, there's a difference between just in the same way that like in taboo, there's a lot of things that are taboo that are coming to the light that people have been practicing for a very, very long time. But I agree with you about this like traditional male and female even that term is even like different now. And an open rule marriage, like where gender is not a binary, where romantic love versus sexual, like there's all these different categories now that we didn't necessarily have terms for before. I would say that is different. Like I'm not really like the term cuckold, for example. But for going back to our the word cuckold, for example, goes back to our kink episode, is when a woman and a man who are together a man will be okay with his wife having sex with another man.
Okay.
And that man, and as you said before, is maybe bigger in the endowment than the husband, and he likes that. That is that traditional?
No.
Or is that
perhaps it's traditional for them if that's just what they're
You see what I'm saying?
in.
It would also, that's good. That's a good thing that she felt comfortable even telling him that, because that's some good communication.
Right.
Yes.
So I like that fact.
Yeah.
And yet still, like she was saying, it has to do with communication. They're just communicating about it. She just expressed it. I'm not sure if she did it already, whatever the case may be. But for her to feel comfortable enough to talk to her spouse about it, that's a positive right there.
Yeah.
Because that's some strong a strong base that they have is effective communication. So if I can express that to you, I feel good about it. Now if he's upset, more than likely he can come back home and talk to them, because he's just in high emotions at that point. I'm getting high emotions. You ask, can somebody come in here and bounce up and down on me? What? And then
But also, to be fair, I don't think he also just bounced because of the image. He asked her questions and she got silent. But that tells me that has a deeper string in their relationship. That like I think when he probably has a bit of an anxious like thing of like he will like bombard her with like, is it me? Do you not like me? Do you like
Right.
this type
A lot
of
of
thing?
those
And that
questions.
immediately like shuts her off.
Right.
And that he took that as a cue of like, oh, you've already done the thing. So to me, that tells me maybe why I'm not going to open up and tell you from the beginning and unintentionally fall into a romantic relationship with someone. That tells me that like you guys have a hard time like broaching uncomfortable conversations. Either it be sex or even romantic dissatisfaction, right? Like how often has this, because we forgot the age difference. She's 34, he's 31.
Right.
So like there's a bit of a maybe like outlook on life like difference at that point. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Because you all do mature fat quicker than men. So.
And so she's already 34, so she's already
I also think it's just that like people change. In my own personal experience, I've changed significantly.
Yeah.
I think that at one point in my life, I felt like I wanted to be in a polyamorous relationship, and really, I just like couldn't see myself with being with only men. Like that really like but I had to like explore that a lot more to really understand that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And
then now your view on
feel
marriage.
that way
Yeah.
about polyamory now. I'm in a monogamous relationship with a woman, so it's like
Right.
I just don't have that same urge. But I do feel like marriage is just what you make it. And I have struggled with coming to that because I don't necessarily think I have examples of marriages around me that I desire or that I see myself in. So,
or that we're flexible. And if I'm going to piggyback off of you, where there's like who we were when we got married
it's not who we're
is
trying
not
to still
who we,
be.
first of all, it's not even who we are individually.
Right.
And then like struggling to somehow like uphold the ideals and these things from how many years ago when we were young, mind you, because I think about like my parents, they married 26 and 30. When you have children, that matures your brain, that matures your body, and you have like trauma of like housing and poverty and just like things of living that shifts your whole like making like up, right? So it's like what I wanted and who I was when we first met is not who I am now. And are you able, is my partner able to make space for that? Because I don't think a lot of people grow with their partner. Like there's just this.
That is the problem, right? And I talk to couples about this all the time, to the point around that we are forever changing. And a lot of times, Antonio, you work with couples too, so you can attest to this, is that they want to go back to who they were, not taking into account that we've had experiences with each other that change how we view each other. We've had experiences, if you lost a child or lost anything, that has changed us as well, or even changed with your body. But couples are not talking. And you say that they're not talking about the changes, and they're not meeting each other where they are with the changes, which is what usually causes the distance and the secrecy. Then also, I think there's a sense of inadequacy that shows up for
exactly
couples.
what I was about to say.
Yeah, that shows up for couples around the fact that, do you still desire me? Do you still want me?
And that's
because if he just, in this case, it's like, I just moved here and I witnessed a connection between you and an old friend.
They did also move.
So you and an old friend. So then I start to question myself around, am I enough? Is this going to work? So I think that in order for relations to keep growing and for us to have healthy, if you're in a marriage, to maintain a healthy marriage, is we got to keep talking about how we're changing. I literally even tell my husband, like, I think I'm going to perimenopause because the way this situation is happening, my mood is this. And then it's a conversation around, I feel like this, and my sex drive is kind of changing in this form, or I may need this. But we're talking about it. And it's not like he's like TMI, but he's also talking about how he's changed also. And I think it's just meeting each other where we at as
but it's not
changing.
TMI between your partner.
Exactly.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
Like
But
that's
what I'm saying. Like he's not saying it's TMI.
No. That's what I was just. I meant to like piggyback on you to say that like nothing it shouldn't be TMI between you and your partner.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, like it shouldn't be
Exactly.
that I'm talking about my body after pregnancy or during pregnancy,
Yeah.
and the men tend to feel like this sense of disgust or
Yeah.
change when their wife changes in her body and things of that
Exactly.
nature, or not feeling like you can talk to your wife about the fact that you're having challenges with getting hard or staying hard or things of that. Like you can't have those conversations
But I
with
think
the
that's
person
what I
that you
mean.
lay
I
with.
think the barrier with people's communication is not usually their partner. It's their own stuff. People
Yeah.
come with stuff. If you are coming from a space of people pleasing or just like following the rules, doing the things that you're supposed to do, it's very difficult for you to voice to your partner that you want to do something outside of that.
Yeah, that's
So
very
I
true.
think that people really struggle with even like vocabulary or language around like what I want. This is what I want.
What platform do you think a male partner would need to feel safe to discuss things, or even you like in relationships? What do you demand or desire like in a partner to for you to feel like, you know what, I can trust you, I can trust this.
Safe.
Yeah.
Now, you all don't go to barbershops and stuff, but that's where most of the men talk about their issues. And when we're in these little men groups, more supportive men would be helpful for a man. Like for instance, in our church, you know, in the Christian faith, we have older men are supposed to come and help the younger men with explaining to them this is how the things happen. Older women help the younger women. I had a great aunt, and she was 103, almost 104 when she died. And my cousin was talking to me. She said, "I remember my aunt so and so." She said, "Make sure you're pleasing your husband." And that was something that was apparently important because you didn't want him to stray away. However, when it comes to the same thing for men, we need somebody who we can talk to. I have some good male friends, and they ask me, well, I say, no, I'm a therapist, and guys at the gym, hey, man, what about this? And so a lot of men are afraid for some reason to talk to their wives about not being able to get hard or these challenging questions as if they're going to judge them. And then they appear to not be the man that they should be. And we have to first tear down that facade of this is who we should be.
Yeah.
Instead of, because in your
Talk about it,
marriage,
Antonio,
you're
yeah.
supposed to be vulnerable to each other. That's what a marriage is. That's what an intimate relationship looks like. I'm supposed to be vulnerable to you so you
Yeah.
can help me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it
I
looks
think
like.
people are not conditioned that way. I
No,
mean,
they're
especially
not.
in our culture, men are not conditioned to feel like I can ask for help or
Right.
that I need help.
Well, that's why you're married.
And a lot of that,
But the
feeling of
women in their life
inadequacy-
don't do that.
Yeah, I was
Don't
gonna say, a
create the
lot of
space
that-
for that.
a
That's
lot of
why
that
they don't go to
may
their
not,
wives.
reflected in like how your mom, your grandma, how those people perhaps responded to you when you were doing the things that you needed to do.
So yeah, it's about how they were raised, how they were, you know, their past experiences. But even if that's the case, but now that you are married, you still need to come to the point where I need to learn these things. I need to open up. I tell people, guys, that I had several couples, and I would ask them to just be honest with their wives. You know, communicate with her, not yell. The same thing. He said, well, she says this. I understand that she say that. And you can ask her, why are you talking to me like that?
Right.
Learn how to respond in an appropriate way that you show her that you love her more than you're trying to hurt her. You know, it comes to effective communication. You know, we've been
People
through all
don't
of
know how to
that.
do that because they didn't receive it.
I know, and they need to learn.
They do need to learn.
because
How do
at
you
this
even
point
broach
now,
that?
and at this point,
Yeah.
I mean, in your relationship right now, we can easily say, I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
And that's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to stop doing that.
How do you
and then-
broach that with your partner, right? Like, how do you
Right.
say, like, I need you to learn these things?
Right. Well, you said, how do I?
With a man specifically, especially when women tend to be the one that brings the men to the therapy for
attention,
couples
yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah.
Women tend to be the one that asks the man, please go to therapy or please do these things.
Yeah.
So how do women approach a man about, hey, I'm having a hard time communicating with you without them immediately feeling like you are reprimanding them,
Yeah.
that you're putting them
Yeah.
down or they're doing something wrong? Like
Yeah.
how do we set up that environment for conversation?
Okay, there's no universal way of doing it, of course. However,
Disclaimer.
so one of the things my client, her husband, come to therapy, and they've been in therapy with me for a number of years. They had some clients I had from the place we will not name. I had to express to her, not necessarily make it his idea, but more so share. I mean, it was like I'm approaching you to say, I need you. I'm making yourself vulnerable in that sense. Like, you know what, I need your help. Because I need to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Make them feel like, hey, I need to understand where you're coming from. It's not me, I ain't the problem.
Right.
But I need to understand where you're coming from. So if we have that third person therapist to help me communicate how you're feeling, and then I can better understand it. And so,
all right.
oh, sorry. So I can better understand. If you let me know, if they can help me understand you, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So approach it like that. I need somebody to help me understand you. Not, you know what, you need to come because we need help in our marriage or we need help in our relationship. And so that sounds like.
So it seems like it's also the woman's approach around how they broach it in terms of not making the partner or the feel like they're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the reason why we need help.
Because the last one gives like I'm taking your ear and I'm dragging you into versus the other one gives I'm coming down to your level and I'm talking to you as an equal. Because I think that's also something that I've heard with clients that my male clients is that they feel like they have very narrow windows where they open themselves to their wives. Unfortunately, the wife or the girlfriend does not know that that is the test window. And so because of all the other moments of like slamming the door, no, I don't want to talk about it, they will then open themselves slightly and the wife is burned by all the times that they've gone to close, that during that narrow window of opening, the wife does not receive them or embrace it. And it almost then like, becomes a fulfilling.
Like, see, I knew she wasn't
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of that. Like, oh well, see, she's not open to me, and she's not this, and I'm not supposed to do this, and it's like, how to break that? That's like more of that's not something that the wife can do. What is your thoughts about like that?
That sounds like an immature man. So that's what that sounds like. So until. Again, it has to do a lot with how a male is raised. I have seen it multiple times, and one of the things a woman should also do, not shy down, not necessarily be aggressive, but to be assertive in their manner and say, hey, this is what I need and this is what I want. Be honest. And so in that situation, let them know, I'm burnt out with this. You're going back and forth with me. Just be honest about the stuff. Don't be passive and say, well, okay, I understand. No, that's not how that works. You need to be honest and say, this is how I feel because this is what you're doing. And then, to be honest, outside of marriage, if you're not married to that person, go ahead and find a relationship. Interpersonal effectiveness. Maintain a relationship. Get rid of a relationship or find new relationships. Choose one of those three. Get rid of it because that person apparently is not on your level. No, they're not ready to mature. So leave it alone. Let them find somebody else that they want to find. Because we try to fix people.
There we go. Talk about it, Antonio. Talk about it.
Stop trying to,
or believe you could change.
Stop trying to say, you know what? I learned this in therapy and try to put it on that person. They're not ready. They're just not ready. So just leave them alone.
And that's
thing as a dating as a therapist that can come up quite often. Like
or having to remind your clients that, right?
Yeah.
That, like you're the one that's doing the work, so your partner that isn't.
It's not gonna. You have to be the one that. And I have to. My therapist calls me out on this. I'll call my clients out on this. Like, if you are the one that has more skills, you're going to have to use more of those skills. And that it can sometimes be a very painful, irritating space to be in. But are you committed to the relationship in a way that you're willing to go through that?
How much are you going to do? How much?
And
are
your
you going to invest in that relationship until you're burnt out or until you just don't want to do it anymore or until you say, I'm just going to deal with it and leave it as it is? I mean, how long are you going to do that? I ask clients that. I say, how long are you going to do this? Even when it comes to jobs and they talk about in the relationship with their parents and they talk to me like this and they talk to me like this. I say, yeah, and I probably would too if you let me.
There we go. And that's the part, right?
Damn.
That's the part.
I said that to a client the other day.
But think about it though. Back to the point, they want to leave, but people like to be comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
People
But what
like to
is-
be
and
comfortable around. Let me
comfortable.
tell you,
Define
people like to be comfortable around that. I know I have the ability to leave, but I don't trust in me enough. I don't feel like I'm going to be okay, but I know no matter how I'm going to be treated, this person
Comes with X, Y, and Z.
It comes with this, and I've gotten myself used to put up with that.
Right.
So when we're and that's why I always tell clients, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can't tell
Right.
you when
I
to
don't
leave
do
because
that.
I know your ass ain't going to leave. You're not going to leave because I already know
You'll
you're
leave when you're
comfortable
ready.
where you at.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to your point, if you let me treat you that way, why do you think I'm going to stop?
Right.
Because I'm going to keep going to it. But also remind yourself is that sometimes people are connected to their trauma and they're connected to their acceptance. I've been seen, I've been chosen.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yes.
time we stay in
Yes.
relationship because
Because
we've
we were
been
chosen.
seen and we've been chosen. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is not about being seen and chosen. It's about, can I live through this?
Do I have
with
what
you?
I wanna
Do you
need?
Nurture, Do you nurture what I need?
Yeah.
You know, and can I nurture what you need? Can I nurture what you're asking for? Because in a situation like this, it's not about the husband, you know, of course, part of it has to do with his insecurities around that. But part of the insecurity is that I'm not enough for her.
But
that
how do you
she
know
wants
he's
to bring.
insecure? He didn't
Well,
say that.
But here's
Fair.
the thing. He didn't say he's insecure, but it's also around the fact that, am I enough? Do I feel like...
He didn't say that either.
No, but he did say that though. He
He
did
said
say
he was-
like, well, why would I want to share you? And he said he
Okay.
started asking himself questions.
But is that insecurity, or is it just a question like why do I
would I
want
wanna
to
share you?
Because it could just be a question like, so why do you want this? Why do you
Right.
feel that this is necessary to bring it to
But
the
it goes to the
relationship?
part where he said that, am I enough for her? Does that mean like, is she not satisfied with me? Because he also
did ask
noticed the
that.
relation.
Well,
Yeah. So part of that to me is
is that
around
I'm not
that.
enough? Is that am I not enough for you to love? Or am I not enough for you to feel? Not even just sexual desires. What am I not enough?
right,
So
yeah.
let me know why I'm not enough.
Yeah,
What is it?
but that's
But I
something
think-
that I think he has to explore.
I also
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the feeling is just jealousy. It doesn't matter if it's insecurity or not. He's jealous, and it makes sense to be because he's noticing something infiltrating
Yeah.
something that is his.
Yeah.
Right? I think even going back to your question about like people staying in relationships because this person chose me, that is very, very important.
Yeah.
Because I think that male or female, woman or man, that is a crux of why a lot of people sit in
stay in
relationships.
relationships,
And I think it connects more to how people, like their attachment style.
Yeah.
People who are anxiously attached are always fearful of not finding a partner, not finding someone who will choose them or who will accept them. So like there is this thing of fear of, if I let this go, will I find somebody else? Will I
Again, yeah.
continue to be lonely? Will I stay in this alone territory? You know what I'm saying? So I think if we're talking about like this desire to be chosen, it's around, well, what are your thoughts about not being enough that makes you settle, or even like conceptualize in your brain that this is as good as you're gonna get?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of what I get on the
Yeah.
individual
Yeah,
side.
I get a lot of people
stuff.
just not even being aware of what it is that they're looking for or what they want. And
Yeah.
often
Some people,
that's
just don't want to
conditioning.
start. Sometimes some people just don't want to start over.
That's
That part too.
conditioning.
Because they got,
Yeah.
because
that
they're
part
afraid
too.
to lose something.
And because it takes an effort. You
Yeah.
lose time.
Yeah.
You lose what's called
And
like
I've invested
your
enough in this
lifestyle or
relationship to get the
whatever.
person to make this person what I want them to be. I don't want to start over.
But they're
Exactly.
still not that.
Well-
That's the thing. That's the thing you're missing.
But they've
They're
invested
still not
enough
that.
time. So I
But
mean,
it's the time.
yeah,
That's the thing.
time
They're
I've invested.
attached to the time, not necessarily the
Right.
effort or excuse me, the outcome.
Yeah.
And also I think we forget that like based on what you said about people's upbringing, do people also understand what nourishing love feels like?
No.
What healthy attachment
Many
feels
people
like?
do not.
So I
No,
think that's
exactly.
why a lot of
so
folks, men or women, get caught up in these high-low
Mm-hmm.
type of like marriages or relationships.
competing with one another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or they get the dullness because they were so used to such loudness growing
Yeah.
up that like the nothing Like
Yeah.
people who haven't had sex in years and years and years, and they're
I
just
don't
like,
know how to do
They
that, Lord.
settle.
and they're
That's
just
gonna work for me though.
But I'm just saying, like, people be
Should,
like, I'm okay.
Jesus.
I'd rather, like, this is okay. There's not too much problem going on. Like, they almost do
Oh.
like a checklist.
And you know, that's a
Companionship.
right. Yeah, I know. Or just the compromising thing. It's okay, and they can do whatever they want. I don't care what they do because you know
Yep.
I'm satisfied. I got the house, I got the car, I
Yep.
got the kids,
Yeah.
I
Talk
got the
about
money.
it. Talk about
he
it.
can go wherever and do whatever he want to do, but I'm going to stay right. And some people, they like that too. They like, depending on the relationship. Let me see, get my words right because I'm on this podcast.
Don't let you know.
I mean, it depends on. I've seen a lot of relationships like this. Of people in my family member, an ancestor, shared a husband with somebody. Why? Because he, and this goes back to years before. You know, now it's open, but you know,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you know, because I guess that was the culture. That was a culture.
Yeah.
So if that's, I don't know, if that's your culture, and in today's culture, a lot of these people do that and not take in consideration the consequences of their actions once they've done it, the emotional aspect of it.
Right.
You know, I'm going everywhere, but anyway, just be mindful of the person that you're involved in. I tell my clients
Yeah.
all the time, communicate that with that individual.
In advance.
If that's something of jealousy, talk about it.
Yeah.
If there's something of inadequacy, talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't be super angry with that person because there's a reason why that
Yeah.
question came up.
Right.
That's my point. There's
Yeah.
a reason why this came up.
Yeah, I think you just need to know yourself in relationships too. I think for me, I had to learn that I needed to be with somebody who could be open to receive the many different.
Faucet.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I need to be able to be flexible. I need to be able to have that freedom and like that feeling of like if I wanted to change, I could.
Yeah.
I think that in the relationship that I am in now, I think that's why I feel so grounded, and
Yeah.
I have not even like thought about polyamory
Right,
because
that
I'm
part.
like,
Yeah.
What if the other person brings it up?
they're not
Well,
people
you-
to talk about it.
Okay.
I feel like I'm an open
But that's
person.
a good question.
Yeah.
But I just need to be able to be in a space where I can be open to explore things as life comes along because we never know what we're going to get. We never know what the cards are going to.
Yeah,
Be
people
aligned with
change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a good segue into transitioning into our listeners' letter. And this confession was really a good discussion.
I think so too.
So let's listen to the listeners' letter.
I am a 28-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, who's 27-year-old, for 5 years, living together for 4. We have an amazing relationship. He's my best friend. We laugh constantly, and our families love us together. But when it comes to commitment, marriage, kids, he shuts down, gives vague answers, and never bring it up himself. I love our day-to-day life, but I'm 29 soon and want to seriously consider my future. Am I wasting my best years on someone who may never commit, or should I focus on the happiness we have now?
Girl, number one, you're not wasting your best years because you're 29. It's up from there, baby. I'm like, once you get over that stretch for 30, it's up. But I will say that, like, you are not maybe wanting the same things, and that is okay to acknowledge that. Like, I want this. If he's not bringing it up, he's probably not
5 years later.
interested. Like. You don't have, when people want something, they go after it. You don't
Yeah.
have to beg for it or pry or press for it.
Antonio?
No, I can agree with that too because after 5 years and you have decided that, or he has decided I'm not ready to marry, that means that.
He didn't make no decision. She don't know yet. She feels she
Oh.
want to know, is she wasting her time by staying in it?
Okay. I mean, but if.
He not bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's not bringing it up. Apparently, he's not ready to marry.
Yeah, no, it says he shuts it down. Like she says that when it comes to commitment, marriage or kids, when she brings it up, he shuts it down.
Yeah.
He does not
No,
have the
he
conversation.
shut down. Is
He
that
shuts
what-
down,
He shuts
yeah.
down. Yeah.
But what's it called? And gives vague answers. Like, so to
Yeah.
me,
So
that's
He's not clear.
Yeah.
He does not want to. Perhaps he's really. Maybe I could also even think about it like maybe what their relationship dynamic is perhaps not what he's looking for, and it's just like a space to hold until he gets to what
like
he's
you
looking
want to
for.
be taken care of. That's what it sounds like. He
So,
just wants to be taken care of.
He wants the life to
because
be all right.
And
For
so
5
he know that
years,
she's gonna.
you
yeah.
can- You giving him the best life.
That's
Why he
it.
gotta
I'm like, he's gonna do that shit until he don't have to do it no
Also,
more.
why
It could
would
be
he
5, 10, 20.
why would he want to change if you already have a
I got
home?
a ride. She's taking care of everything.
Right.
Our
And she
parents
just-
love each
she's-
other.
Right.
Like, together.
I'm
That's
good now. Her parents like
me.
Yeah.
My parents are also cool with this. And also I can't help the age difference.
I've experienced
28
this.
female, 27 male. Yes, everyone thinks it's a year.
No.
At 27, what he is thinking about versus what she is thinking about is
Correct.
different.
Her biological clock.
Exactly.
All that is what-
And honestly, I think biological clock should be relabeled as societal's
Yeah.
pressure, because we are not knowing what is the cultural background of this person.
Right.
Are they of a background where her being at that age is putting more pressure because you're
Right.
supposed to have children by this time, right? And sometimes men aren't put as much pressure on in those cultures because they can have children up
Well, I mean,
until
it could be a
they're
physiological issue too with her. She
Yes.
probably, I don't know, but
yeah,
it could be
there's
that.
things that could be showing up that
Right.
where like she has to think about those things
Yeah.
where he would not have to think
Right.
about it.
So I could actually semi-relate to her
Yes, same.
situation around. I was in a long-term relationship, and I felt safe and comfortable with it. That was the point where I didn't know marriage was for me, coming from the background of my parents being divorced. But I remember my partner early on wanting to get married, and then end up like switching at some point when I figured I watched a Lifetime movie, y'all. That's the only reason why my mind changed. And then I started doing, God had to save me and teach me a little bit of tradition. So that's how my views on marriage changed. But we were having conversation around like, I wanted children, I wanted a family, and I wanted to get married. And to the point where, he just now wasn't sure about it because I wanted a lifetime partnership. So eventually I came to the conclusion that we both have changed. Though we were together for 10 years, we both have changed. And because we both have changed, it's more than okay that it was okay for me to want to get married now. It was okay for me to want to have a family, and he wasn't sure about that. So if he's not sure, what I end up doing, I chose Judalyn, right? I chose me, and I chose what I needed. So my advice is, honey, choose you. If that's the life that you see for yourself, and it's not that you love him any less. My ex and I, now we're like best friends, but at the same time, we already knew we grew apart, and there was a level of respect that was there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that we couldn't have the life that I desire for myself because he desired something different for him. So I would just say choose you and
count the losses and move on. Because
There we go.
the thing about
We had a
that
good
is-
run.
Right, exactly. I think
Nice
she's
knowing
afraid to
you.
leave because of the simple fact that her parents like him.
Yeah.
And his parents like her. or
And she
some
perhaps
things like
is
that.
like locked into just this feeling of, I know he comes with certain things that I like. They've been
Right.
together 5 years. He probably has checked some boxes off her
Right,
list.
Yeah.
And he's doing it intentionally because
Yeah.
he know that.
Giving crumbs.
Yeah, that part. And some
doing
women
the
like to collect
minimum.
crumbs.
Intermediate.
But I would say
Reward.
less crumbs are more of like the minimum, or
Yeah.
keeps the facade or keeps up the lifestyle of the family, right? Because I'm just thinking about this could be an Asian family, this could be an Indian family, this could be an African family, where if you think about it, socioeconomically, they're probably making good money.
Yeah.
Right? So they're both on the same level, or if not, one is higher, who knows which one. But let's say that they're making good money. They're both expected to make good money. So there's already this kind of like arranged but not arranged kind of like attitude, which happens a lot in like cultural marriages.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, it's not arranged, but it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not incited.
I don't know the word.
I don't know the word, but it's almost like they expect that this is what it's going to be. You guys are
This is
meant
the way this is
to.
supposed to
They've
be.
seen
This
it
is
since they were
expectation.
little. Like they've been around each other, family, friends. Like so, there's almost like a stuckness. Like this has to be. Like this has to end with us being together. And when that's on you, you can't see anything else as the woman, at least. It's like set up that way that you can't see anything else outside of a family and an ending with this person.
Yeah.
So it's like learning to like entertain the idea of like life outside of what your culture, your parents, what you've been taught for a long, like a very long time. And that's hard to do.
Some people are just afraid of change.
They can be, for sure.
That may just be an issue with him of being afraid of change
That
for
could be
various
too.
reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know.
That's true.
But that's a him
great
problem,
point.
and she should, do what she needs to do.
I can agree with that. That is a him problem, and she needs to move on and find somebody else who is going to fulfill her total desire to be married. I'm believing waiting on nobody.
There you go.
Because life is so short. I'm already 50.
Yeah,
A
that
couple
part.
of minutes ago, I was 30. Good Lord. So guess what? If I say I'm going to get married now, it's going to be tomorrow. I'm going to move on to the next person.
That part.
Because I just, at certain times in
That
your
part.
life, you just ready to do what you're
You
going to do.
ready to get what you get.
And then that's how that works.
Yeah, 'cause I love being married.
Well, good. I'm glad.
I love it.
I love being single because when I eat at home, everybody feeds. When I go to sleep, everybody's in bed. When I'm happy, everybody's happy.
Well, this was great.
I love being married who I'm married to.
That part. Well, this was a great discussion. Let's close us up. Antonio, where can the people find you?
Daily Living Counseling Services.
We have the
Yeah, we'll put your stuff in the bio.
Right. That, and also I'm a real estate agent, so
Yes.
I have that information. But if you reach out to me with Daily Living Counseling Services, then I can answer the rest of your questions as far as therapy or anything else.
Yes.
We love you.
We love you.
you.
For
We
sure.
love you.
You can
for having
also, and you can also reach us at Couch Chronicles, TAD@gmail.com to send in your listener letters or confessions. We will see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye guys.